Hey there. Right now we're going to test this 128 gig SanDisk, quote, SanDisk, unquote, 128 gig micro SD. Right off the bat, you can tell the labeling on this thing is really just a silk screen on the top of the thing, which is totally fake. But through some software, we're going to figure out if this thing is really real. My guess, not so much. So right now I got my Lenovo T500 laptop and I have a 64 gig micro SD in here. You can see I've already used quite a bit of it. So this is obviously a real card. Pop this out real quick. 64 gigs. And I'm going to put the 120 gig in the adapter. And it shows that it is a 8 gig card. However, it only shows an 8 gig card because I've already done some damage control on this one. Oh, that's device manager. I don't need that. I need disk management. So you can see here, this card actually shows up as a 128 gig card, which I've created one partition on. So I'm going to clear that. CMD. Actually, no, I need CMD is administrator. Disk part. List. Disk. Two. Clean. Clean erases all the data on the drive and removes all its partitions. So instead of creating a new partition, I'm going to just completely initialize this as if it was a brand new card. So I eject it, and I reinsert it, and it will say, the disk is not formatted. Do you want to format it? Sure. I'm going to tell it to do. By default, it comes with the exFAT file system, which can support all 128 gigs. So I'm going to do that and tell it to format it quickly. Unable to complete the format. Strange. Alright, well, for the sake of brevity, I'll just create a partition the traditional way as an exFAT, no label. Quick format, and go ahead. Okay, so now we have a drive E. Drive E appears to be 128 gigs. So the 8 gig card is now 128 gigs. This is actually caused by shall we say, hacked SD card controller. On each SD card there is a little microcontroller on it. It processes the I/O and basically adapts its read and write operations to actual memory that's physical flash memory on the drive. It's able to do this translation by programming that tells it to remap areas that don't exist in its physical flash memory to basically throw that data away. So you can tell it to be any size you want, or any size they want, and then sell it with a silk screen. So the way I test how much flash memory is actually in there is by using a utility called H2TestW. So you can see this is H2TestW. So this is a utility that is developed to test USB sticks for various kinds of errors, including fake sizes. So I'm going to fire this guy up and tell it to do English on drive E and use all available space with a write and verify and go ahead. I always use this error because there's file system space in use. It doesn't understand why there's 1 megabyte missing between reported and real size, but we'll see as it runs. So right now it's writing to the drive. It's going to write for about 4 hours. I'm basically not going to take a 4-hour video, so I'll come back to this after we start getting some read results. Alright, we're now 2 hours and 10 minutes into it. Camera's battery's charged, and like last time, I'm gonna go to bed now. So we'll pick this up in the morning. But it's also worth noting that at 10 megs a second, 9.57 megabytes a second, this is extremely freaking slow. Strange the speed change too. I noticed that last time I did a test. I'll have to look at the video, compare it, but take a look at earlier in the video. Probably notice it was going a little either faster or slower, but somehow the speed changed at about the 8 gig barrier. So once it starts getting to this point, it's just throwing away data anyway. We're at 75, 76-ish gigs into it. I really wish this thing could focus, but somewhere in there you can see it. Yeah. But yeah, it's funny how it slows down like that. Alright, so here's the final result. It ran all the rest of the night. 3 hours 43 minutes to write, and 3 hours 38 minutes to read. Yikes. So what it says is 7.4 gigs are actually okay. The rest, 117.5 gigs. Yeah, that's right. 8 gigs okay. 120 gigs lost. So that means that there is not really 128 gigs of memory on this thing. There's only 8 gigs. So the reading and writing speed, so on and so forth. But the most important piece of info is these guys right here. 7.4 gigs okay, 117.5 gigs data lost. So I'll explain more about that up ahead. Alright, so this is a weird one. So I was testing this thing, and I was trying to find the same data again after I wrote it earlier in the drive to see if it echoes. Well, it did, but sort of. It seems to like unpredictably scramble the data that shows up. So if I fire up WinHex again, which takes a minute, open the drive. Open the drive. Now, somewhere in the top few bytes of this thing, well, as you can see, the stuff I wrote in the beginning is no longer there, but it is instead far later in the drive where I seek to drop it. Okay, that's far too far. Alright, well, alright, so I'm going to just seek to the middle. Ooh. Ah, there we go. Let's see if I search up. No. If I search down. No, so it's nowhere in the blank space. It's just gone. But here's what I found. I can go to any general place, and I'm just going to select a block of this. Gibberish data. Actually, let me count how many times I go. So, I'm starting here, and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I fill the block with zeros. Save it. Okay, so that's all written to the drive. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And here I'm going to paste the data that I wrote in before, the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, since that's not going to appear anywhere else in the drive, and go looking for it. Interesting. I'm finding it again almost immediately afterward. And again. And again. And again. I just wrote that, and it's coming up again and again and again and again and again and again, over and over and over and over with the same data above it. This is a little different than what I got before, because this time I wrote it to the middle of the drive, where obviously nothing exists. So what it's showing here is actually the data echoing all throughout the drive, meaning it's just writing what I wrote one time. It's not writing it countless times, it's just this data in this area literally just does not exist on the drive. And so in order to compensate for it and make it look like it's there, it's just looping and looping and looping and looping and looping and looping and looping. I kind of get the feeling that what it's doing is segmenting the drive such that certain areas are looped over and over in different places, which is why I was having trouble finding it earlier, because I'm not going to sit here waiting 6 hours for it to scan all the sectors every time I do this. So because I didn't scan all the sectors, I couldn't find where it showed up. So I'm just going to go to a random place and try finding it again from here. Wow, it's still there. And here, at the end of the drive. I only wrote that like once here. And sure, a hell of a lot of supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. So, what about the beginning of the drive? Wow, it's even at the beginning of the drive, ahead of where I placed it. Or behind where I placed it. So I placed it further down, you saw it was in the middle of the drive, but now I'm at the top up here. And just over and over and over and over and over, so it just loops kind of unpredictably. I could just go anywhere and search, and supercalifragilisticexpialidocious just appears over and over and over and over and over and over. And that same data over and over and over too. As I seek, you can see the blank spaces over and over and over and over and over too. So at the beginning of the drive though, if I just start at 0, see it doesn't come up because it has 8 gigs of usable space. So it's going to actually scan 8 gigs of physical, actually usable space. But once it moves past that, it starts unpredictably looping over and over and over. So that's basically what I found. I hope you enjoyed this, well, 12 minutes of explanatory enjoyness.